وقل رب زدني علما.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. حياكم الله وبياكم. Welcome to today's class. And today's class, we've already done 3 introductory classes. And you can consider today to be the first class on tafsir. And inshallah, we're going to do some tafsir towards the end of the class. But having said that, there's still a few things that we need to mention specifically about this course, inshallah ta'ala. The importance of learning tafsir. We haven't mentioned that. And if I wanted to make that a separate lecture altogether, I could have. But inshallah, for the sake of getting to the tafsir itself, we won't spend too much time on this. But if you want to know the importance of learning tafsir, then it can be found in many things, but we'll mention 3. It can be found in many things, but specifically, it can be found in 3 things. Okay? The first is, it can be found in the importance of the Quran. Okay? So any narration, any ayah, or anything that you know about the importance of the Quran, it also includes the importance of tafsir. Because in essence, tafsir is studying the meanings of the Quran. We mentioned many times before, sharaf al-ilm bi sharaf al-ma'loom, that the nobility of any knowledge returns back to the nobility of that thing which is being studied. So tafsir status is the status of the Quran. Likewise, another point is that it also lies in your need of guidance. Okay? So you think of how much you need guidance, that's how much you need tafsir. Because you can't achieve guidance except through understanding the Quran upon the sunnah of the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the way of the companions. And this, in essence, is the studying of tafsir. Likewise, a third point would be that you can think of to realize your need of tafsir is the abundance of misguidance. How much misguidance is out there, subhanallah. And there's no other way for you to sift through what's right and what's wrong except by way of knowing tafsir. Okay, so that's when it comes to the importance of tafsir. Likewise, all of you are aware of the famous hadith, which states that خيركم من تعلم القرآن وعلمه, that the best amongst you is the one who learns the Quran and teaches it. Okay. However, having said that, there's a very important point that we have to make here, and it's a common misconception with a very detrimental effect. Okay. What is meant by learns the Quran? Okay. And perhaps we can pose that question on WooClap. What is meant by learns the Quran? That word learns, what's meant by that? In the hadith that we've just mentioned. Okay, so the Prophet ﷺ said, the best of you are those, share the screen, the best of you are those that learn the Quran or teach it. What's meant by learn the Quran? And in what sense learn the Quran? We got some answers here. Memorize it and act upon it. The one who learns its tajweed, tafsir, and implements it in his or her life, studies the tafsir, proper recitation, acts upon it, learns the meaning and acts upon them with understanding, acting upon. Alhamdulillah. Barakallahu feekum. So that's, generally speaking, the correct answer. For most of you, generally speaking, you got it right. Okay? Okay? طيب. So learning the Quran, okay, it has a specific meaning. And unfortunately, many Muslims, they think that this hadith means the best of you are those that learn the Quran or teach it. They think it's the Quran school or the tahfidh school. Okay, only. Not that it doesn't include that, but they think that learning the Quran means to memorize it. Teaching the Quran means to make others memorize. This is not even the explicit meaning of it. Right? That's an implicit meaning. The real meaning, or the first meaning that comes to mind when it comes to learning the Quran, is understanding it. Understanding it. That's the first aspect of the Quran that you need to know even before you memorize it. Apart from Surah Al-Fatiha, of course, you need to pray. Okay, and Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he talked about this, and he mentioned some very important points. One of them, he said that the companions received the Quran. What did they receive? They received both its wordings and meanings. Okay, from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, and that's why Abdurrahman as-Sulami, who is the one who has relayed the hadith from Uthman, he is the narrator of the hadith. The best of you are those who learn the Quran and teach it. What did he say? He said that those on the whom we learned the Quran, yani Uthman ibn Affan, Abdullah bin Mas'ud, and others from amongst the companions. He said they told us that whenever they had learned 10 ayat from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they used to not move forward past that until they learned the knowledge which those ayat contained and actions which it entailed. Okay, so they said we learned the Quran along with knowledge and deeds altogether. تعلمنا القرآن والعلم والعمل معا. All these things is one package. They used to learn together. They didn't used to memorize the whole of the Quran, become hafiz al-Quran, and then go and learn some tafsir and then act upon it. La. They would take 10 ayat, and this is the manhaj and the way of the companions radiallahu anhum when it comes to learning the Quran. And that's why not all of the companions were hufaz al-Quran. Not all of them had memorized the Quran off by heart, but all of them were a people who knew the Quran. They were the people of the Quran before anyone else. The hadith mentions Ahlul Quran hum Ahlullah wa khasatuhu, that the people of the Quran, they're the people of Allah, or the close ones to Allah, and the special ones. Who are the people of the Quran? They are those who first and foremost understand the Quran and then they act upon it. Okay, and it's not a necessity that they memorize it. Memorizing it is not a condition for you to be from the people of the Quran. And this is a misunderstanding, common misunderstanding amongst many, many Muslims. Okay, and this misunderstanding is the source of a lot of the misguidance that you can see. Okay, whereby they focused a lot on. So that's why you find that those with the largest following on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube and these sort of things, if you compare between those scholars of tafsir that teach tafsir, yes, and who are people that have knowledge of the meaning of the Quran, and you compare between those qurra that can recite beautifully or whose hifd is strong, who do you find has more followers? By far. Yes, this is one of the weaknesses that we have in the ummah, right? This is not to belittle the importance of memorizing the Quran. It's important, but it comes after understanding it. Okay? And this is the way of the companions radiallahu anhum. This is a very vast subject. Perhaps, inshallah, we will maybe do a separate lecture on it one day, bi'idhnillah al-kareem. So he mentions that. So in light of this, teaching the wordings of the Quran and its meanings are both included in the meaning of the best of you are those who learn the Quran and teach it. In fact, he says, gaining knowledge of the Quran's meaning is the primary goal of teaching its wordings. Okay? So the meaning is the primary goal. It is knowledge, he mentions, of the meanings that increases one's iman. As Jundub ibn Abdullah and Abdullah ibn Amr and others, they have said, what did they say? They said that they learned what? He mentions that we learned iman first before learning the Quran. كنا نتعلم الإيمان قبل القرآن. Okay, so then the Quran increased us in iman. Obviously, with iman here, what is meant is the tenets of the correct aqidah and iman, where necessitates the knowledge which is in the Quran, the understanding of it, before we learned the Quran, i.e., before we memorized it. So then the Quran increased us in iman. However, now you learn the Quran first before learning iman, he says. Now it is that the children, we send them to Quran schools. Yes, to do what? Do they go there to learn tafsir? Reality. Do we send our children to Quran schools in order for them to learn tafsir first and foremost? La. We send them to Quran schools for them to memorize the letters of the Quran only, without them learning the tafsir. And then when they turn into teenagers and they grow up, we wonder and we say, why did my children go astray? Why is their iman weak? Their iman is weak because you think you've taught them the Quran, but you haven't. You should have sent him to someone who teaches them the tafsir and the meanings of the Quran before you send him to a tahfidh school where he just memorizes the words and the letters without understanding what they mean. Again, a massive topic. but we'll suffice with that, inshallah. So he concludes, and the Sahaba transmitted both Al-Iman and the Quran to us. They transmitted both. Okay? Just the way that the Sahaba have preserved and memorized the Quran, such that today we have the Quran, we read the Quran the way it was revealed. Likewise, they've preserved the knowledge of the Quran and the Iman and the Ma'ani and the Tafsir that's within it by meaning and wording. And all of that had been revealed from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the Prophet. And this we've done when we talked about the foundations of tafsir. That the correct tafsir or the meaning of the Quran, it is from Allah, just like the Quran is from Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed the Quran and its meanings to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And he has commanded Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to convey those meanings to us. And he's conveyed it to the companions, and the companions have conveyed the Quran, the letters, and the meaning of it to us. So now look at how the Muslims, they took the Quran from the companions in terms of how it should be recited, but they have neglected the meanings. And when it comes to the meanings of the Quran, understanding the Quran, they don't return back to the companions radiallahu anhum. Okay? This is a major contradiction. So I wanted to get everybody's attention to this important point. Yes, we know this hadith, we always hear this hadith, that the best of you are those who learn the Quran, those that teach it, but make sure you understand the hadith the way it should be understood. So the best of us are not those qurra الذين يقيمون حروفه ويضيعون حدوده. They're not those qurra who perfect its letters, but they neglect its rulings. They are not the people of the Quran. They are not the ones that are included here in this hadith. The ones that are included in this hadith are those who learn the Quran. They understand it and they act upon it. And then they teach it. Okay? So those that call to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon basira and understanding in light of the Quran and the Sunnah, upon the understanding of the companions radiallahu anhum. طيب. The tafsir that we're going to do, inshallah, the sources that I'm going to return back to the main ones, right? Just so that you know, is Tafsir al-Jalalain, okay, for its concise nature, but we already mentioned before that Tafsir al-Jalalain is not something that a beginner student of knowledge should start off with, all right, because of some of the aqidah mistakes in it, and also because of the way that it's written. It even though it's concise, it's actually quite deep, right? So it needs some background knowledge, but I'm going to return back to it, inshallah, and extract what's relevant. Likewise, Tafsir of Ibn Sa'di, rahimahullah ta'ala, okay, a major tafsir in our times, is very beneficial, to the point, and is one of those tafsirs that it's called, it's a tafsir tarbawi. It's a tafsir that is written with the focus on cultivation. So you'll find that the benefits that he brings and the points that he stresses, they are towards cultivating you as a Muslim, towards making you a better Muslim. So you'll find that in Tafsir bin Sa'di, he doesn't focus on the linguistic miracles of the Quran or the Arabic language or even on fiqh masail. He doesn't focus on that. What he focuses on are those things and those concepts and those fundamentals that make you a better Muslim. And that's one of the things that really set it apart. And then we have Tafsir ibn Kathir. Again, I don't need to tell you the high status that this tafsir has amongst the ummah. And that's also one of the sources I'll return back to, amongst others, but these are the main ones. Because I remember one of the brothers, he asked. So I am obliged to let you know, inshallah. طيب. With regards to the resources that you should be using as a student, inshallah, is that before the class, you should read At-Tafsir al-Mukhtasar. Okay? And this book, At-Tafsir al-Mukhtasar, it's a contemporary book, right? Written fairly recently, but it has some very useful things that benefit us for this particular course. Number one, it has an English translation that's free and out there online. Yes, which I'm going to release to you on a week-by-week basis. Okay, you can download it yourself if you want, but I'm going to release every portion that we're going to do for that week. I'm going to send it on the Telegram channel so you can read it before class. Okay, and likewise, it's a very concise tafsir as well. It's very concise and suitable for our intent, our goal, inshallah, and objectives. Okay, you can go to the website and it mentions some of the educational features that this book has. Its simplicity, that it focuses on clarifying the tafsir, the meanings of the Quran. It doesn't go into other Quranic sciences. Likewise, it follows the approach of the predecessors of this ummah, يعني the Salaf al-Salih, which, na'am, I mean, it's a group of authors that have written the book, right? And me personally, I'm going to read this tafsir and I'll make sure, inshallah, that everything, according to my knowledge, is authentic. But the fact that we're taking this book and we're learning this book, it's not a recommendation for every author that took part in writing this tafsir. So that's a disclaimer that you should know, right? A lot of people that are specialized in the tafsir or in Quranic studies took part in this mashru', but it's not for me to recommend any of them or not. That's up to the scholars. So it's not a recommendation in that regard for everyone that took part. But what I do recommend is the work. The work itself, I've read it myself and it's authentic, inshallah ta'ala. And if we come across anything that isn't, then we'll put it across to the scholars. طيب. Likewise, here it mentions there a lot of the beneficial points regarding this tafsir. And you can go back to it, inshallah ta'ala. طيب. And then after that, we also want you to return back to Tafsir ibn Sa'di. But this is optional. Okay, so al-Mukhtasar, I expect everyone to read before class, right? Because like we said before, we're not going to do a tafsir where we go word by word. We're going to do general meaning. So I think it's beneficial for you to at least read the meaning from al-Mukhtasar before you come to class so that you have a better understanding what we're going to be teaching, and mainly because I might not stop on every single point. So this would be an opportunity for you to read and also to note down any questions that you might have so you can put them across before class. But Tafsir ibn Sa'di also is a resource that you should return back to. Okay, and I will again do the same thing, release the relevant portion for that week within the Telegram channel or elsewhere as it's suitable, so that you can also read that portion, inshallah ta'ala, before class. طيب. ممتاز. Then we have, these are the resources, okay? Another important point is what is required of you as a student, right? This is important, okay? Because I'm sure there's a lot of things that you expect from me as a teacher, but there's also things I expect from you as a student. Not that you have to, because I'm forcing you, but because you have to if you want to benefit from this course. When it comes to the assignments, then we've got 3 types of assignments, or 3 types of homeworks, or 3 types of things that you need to do. There are the things that you do before class, and this is very important, right? Which is, number 1, you read al-Mukhtasar, as we've mentioned earlier, which will be accompanied by some comprehension questions so that I know what has been understood, what hasn't. Yes, so it guides my lesson a lot. I want to make sure that the lesson is as relevant to the group of people in front of me as possible. So you answer the comprehension questions, inshallah ta'ala, which allows me to know where the weakness points are. And if I find that there are specific points everybody understands, then I'll jump that. Okay. And then, because again, I'm here to supplement. I'm not here to be the thing that you rely on. Okay. I'm just your brother here, a small student of knowledge. I'm just here to facilitate learning to the best of my ability and to supplement, right? So that, for example, if you have any questions, then you write them down, okay? You send them before class, and then we can address those questions in class. And if I get stuck, I can put it across to the scholars, okay? So that's why it's really important that you read the tafsir before class, okay? In class, obviously, you just participate like you normally do in WooClap. And then after class, post-class assignments, what you do is you revise the notes. So again, I'm going to release my notes to you like I have before, ready for you to do with whatever you want. And also, I'm going to give you flashcards with the most important things that I believe you should memorize or you should remember. You can use those flashcards, which have spaced repetition as well. And you should also do the quiz. So we try to give a quiz every week, after you take all of these steps, just to see if everything is registered, and also to keep you motivated and to put some level of urgency to your revision, okay? Those are the assignments. Likewise, there are different levels of engagement, right? If you like, so I like to call it, right? We've got a large group of students, alhamdulillah, over 200 people in Telegram channel. But from my experience in teaching, students are of different levels when it comes to their engagement. Some are really engaged, some just about have time to do the bare minimum, and some of you are eager for extra. Okay, so what we want to do to the best of our abilities is to cater for everyone in that regard. Yes, we don't want to overwhelm those of you that are too busy. Neither do we want to, if you like, bore those of you that are looking for something that is more engaging or more challenging. Okay, so we have the general lecture, which is this lecture or these kind of lessons. All right, this one's open to everyone. Yes, and the purpose of it is that you learn your fundamentals, you understand the Quran. That's the purpose of it. Okay, and our focus when it comes to general lectures is on understanding the overall meaning. Okay, and we're going to understand the ayah in English, right? No word for word translation. The important thing when it comes to general lectures is that you understand the concept, that the message reaches you. That's the important thing by way of English. Okay, so we won't be studying or diving into any Arabic words except if they are religious or technical terms that you need. For example, as-salah. Okay, we can't just say prayer. Okay, or for example, when it comes to at-tawheed, for example, it needs a bit more explanation, right? What that term actually means in reality. Okay, so unless it's a religious or technical term, which can't be translated in essence, they can't be translated word for word. For the rest, we wouldn't be doing a word by word translation. Okay, and another purpose is that we address common misconceptions to be sure that everybody understands the Quran the way they should be understood. Okay, and when it comes to that, addressing common misconceptions, me as a teacher, I might not know what the common misconceptions are, and they call this the curse of knowledge. You know, sometimes someone who has knowledge of a certain topic, he expects everybody else knows something. Yes, he thinks it's easy. Everyone knows this. Okay, they call it the curse of knowledge, when in essence, the students, they don't understand it, they don't know. And that's why I said it's so important that you post all your questions before class. And that's why we do the Woo Clap, engage, Woo Clap questions, so that I can engage. What did people understand? What didn't they understand? Okay, if I try to guess what you should be understanding, then I might overlook a lot of things that you're actually not understanding because I think that you know, but in essence, you don't. The next level, yes, okay, and this is again a high level of engagement, and this is not a given. Yes, not every student has access to this. Okay, these levels that we mentioned right now, you have to work for it in a sense, right? So we're going to do a separate workshop in English, right, after the tafsir class, maybe during the week. Yes, but access to that course or that workshop would only be given to those that fulfill these requirements. Okay, so the assignments, for example, for the general lecture, we said there's pre-class assignments, there's post-class assignments. Those of you that fulfill those, then you'll find maybe at the last step, you're going to find a link to the workshop so you can join the workshop. And the reason I say that is because if it wasn't for this, then everyone would want to join every single opportunity that I present, a workshop, a lecture, and before you know it, you get overwhelmed and then you leave the whole course. We don't want that, right? If you're truthful and you want to go to the next step, you want to go a bit deeper, then fulfill what is required over here. Then you'll find a link to the general world, to the workshops. Okay. The purpose of this workshop is to develop a knowledge seekers or the knowledge seeker skills and habits, right? So to basically develop you more as a student of knowledge, right? So we would, for example, focus on note-taking practices. How do you take notes, right? We would go into deeper discussions, answer questions related to supplementary material. So we have the Al-Mukhtasar, that's the main one. And then we have the Tafsir bin Sa'di. We said that's supplementary. So those of you that go ahead and read Tafsir bin Sa'di and you have questions on that, then I would answer those questions in this workshop, not in the general lecture. General lecture is Al-Mukhtasar. Okay? Beyond that, that's what this workshop is for. Okay, and it's a bit more high tech as well. I'm going to introduce you to different tools that you can use to make the act of seeking knowledge easier for you. Okay, and I know that sometimes some of the tools that I present, some people get overwhelmed by it. Not everybody is tech savvy, right? So that's why I decided to make this second workshop kind of like opt-in. Okay, only those that want it and not something that I expect everybody to do. Okay, so that's the workshop. This one's going to be in English. Then we're going to have a third one, which is a workshop, which is going to be strictly in Arabic. And the reason I decided to do this one is because I've done a poll in the Telegram channel, and I found out, to my pleasant surprise, that quite a large proportion of the members in the Telegram channel actually understand Arabic, right? So the purpose of this workshop would be to understand the Quran in the language it was revealed. So we're going to try to understand the Quran in Arabic. So we would focus on the i'rab of the Quran. We do some i'rab of the ayat and also some morphological analysis, the tasrif and the sarf of the different words to understand it in Arabic. And that workshop would be in Arabic. We would also study the gharib al-Quran. The gharib al-Quran are those words in the Quran that have a meaning which is not that apparent, right? That even an Arab might not know. Yes, so there are some words in the Quran that are a bit difficult. Or there's some that might, maybe the word itself is not even difficult, but is used in a specific way in the Quran or the language of the Quran, and people might use it for other reasons in the general speech, right? So this is called the gharib al-Quran, okay? So that's, you can only study gharib al-Quran if you know Arabic. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. Likewise, we would read a tafsir book in Arabic. Together, we'd read a tafsir book in Arabic and try and, extract benefits from it, inshallah ta'ala. Obviously, some of you might thinking, Ustad, how can you do all of this? There's way too much, but the reality is this particular course, the Tafsir course, it's more for me than for anybody else, to be honest. There are many courses that I do, the Quran reading course and other courses, it's to benefit others. But the Tafsir course for me, I see it as an opportunity for myself to revise the Quran, to go over the Tafsir. And that's why I decided to introduce this one as well, which is, in essence, will benefit me more than anybody else. That's how I see it. When it comes to hifd, this is something that I might consider, that if there are amongst you those that are hufad al-Quran and you want to revise the hifd together, then that's something as well that we can consider, inshallah ta'ala. But if you're not hafid al-Quran, then it's not practical. You can't finish the Quran or its memorization in 1 year, which is what we're planning to finish the tafsir in. Okay, so if you are hafid al-Quran, then that would be something that, get in touch with me, inshallah, we can work it out. Finally, some general guidelines on how to make the most of this course. General guidelines, okay? Number one, make sincere dua. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that chooses or can make you from the people of the Quran. This is guidance. This that you're learning now, the tafsir, inshallah, correct tafsir, this is guidance. And Allah gives guidance to whomever He wants. Allah said to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the Quran, إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ, that you don't guide whoever you wish, O Muhammad. وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ, but rather Allah is the one that guides whoever He wants. So this guidance, it's only in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. يَا مُقَلِّبَ الْقُلُوبِ ثَبِّتْ قُلُوبَنَا عَلَى دِينِكَ, O turn of the hearts, make our hearts firm upon your religion. And one of the dua, this is one of the du'as that the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam himself used to make the most. This dua, okay? So this is something that only Allah can give. Okay? So ask Allah sincerely to make this endeavor a successful one for you and an easy journey, and that He keeps you steadfast on this khair. That's number one. Secondly, correct your intention. Make sure that you are learning this or you're enrolling onto this course for the right reasons. Okay? And we all know the hadith that mentions what? إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَا نَوَى. Indeed, deeds are by their intentions, and everyone will receive that which he has intended. And there's a saying that scholars, they mention that indeed a man achieves knowledge according to his level of sincerity. The more sincere you are, the more knowledge you acquire. Okay, and this obviously goes back to understanding the concept of knowledge, which is, again, is a common misunderstanding amongst many. Knowledge is not memorizing facts. Knowledge is something that takes place in the heart. Knowledge is understanding the religion of Allah. Knowledge is a light from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the more you increase in sincerity, the more you increase in knowledge, true knowledge. And Shaykhana Shaykh Salih al-Usaymi, in his book, Ta'zeem al-Ilm, he mentioned 4 things, all right, that or 4 ways in which you can have the right intention. Okay, number 1, that you intend to remove ignorance from yourself by learning what is required to perform the different forms and acts of worship, and that you act in accordance to the objectives of the commands and the prohibitions. In other words, that you intend to raise ignorance from yourself so that you can fulfill the obligations and stay away from the prohibitions. That's intention number one. Okay? Intention number two that you can have also and should have is that you remove the ignorance from Allah's creation. Okay? That you intend that, hey, I don't just want to cultivate myself, I also want to seek knowledge in order to benefit others, benefit my family, benefit the ummah at large. Okay? رفع العلم عن نفسه وعن غيره. That you lift not ignorance from yourself and from others. Likewise, a third intention, a very lofty intention that you can have, high intention that you can have, lofty intention is that you intend to be a source of, that you're someone that revives knowledge, and that knowledge is preserved through you. Yes, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has promised that He will preserve the Quran and its meanings until the day of judgment. However, Allah has chosen a certain group of people that will preserve that knowledge until the day of judgment. So when you have that intention, then perhaps Allah will make you from those by whom Allah preserves His religion. And there's no higher status than that, other than being a prophet or a messenger or a companion. Okay? And fourth is that you have the intention of acting upon it. And this is the most important one, right? If when you hear a benefit and when you seek knowledge, yes, the first thing that comes to your mind is how can I implement this? Then inshallah, that's a great sign that you have the right intention. Bi-idhnillah. If that's the first thing that comes to your mind. But if you hear a benefit that particularly resonates with you or that you think is important, and the first thing that comes to your mind is how can I translate it? How can I share it? You know, this is going to earn me more likes. This is going to earn me more retweets. Then that's a dangerous, very dangerous intention to have, right? So again, these 4 forms of intention, right? Remember them, yes? And try every time when you do a righteous deed, look at it from these 4 perspectives, yes? Any knowledge that you're seeking, knowledge of the Quran, knowledge of the Hadith, yes? Keep this in mind, okay? طيب. And طبعا the ahadith and the ayat regarding seeking knowledge for the sake of Allah and the grave dangers of having the wrong intention when it comes to that, there are many. One of them, the Prophet Muhammad mentioned that whoever seeks knowledge, yes, which is knowledge that is normally sought for drawing near to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he seeks that knowledge for nothing other than the dunya, then he will not find the fragrance of Jannah. Subhanallah. And we all know that the first 3 people that will be punished on the day of judgment, the first three groups of people that will be punished on the day of judgment, one of them is what? Is someone who learned the Quran, who taught the Quran. Then he will be asked, why did you do that? And he will say, oh Allah, I done it for your sake. And it will be said to him, kadabt, you've lied. Rather, you only read the Quran so that it said you're a qari. And indeed it has been said. And he'll be thrown into the hellfire. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from that. So my dear brother and sister, do not embark on this journey until you correct your intention. Otherwise, it's going to harm you more than it will benefit you. Thirdly, be consistent. The Prophet Muhammad said, أَحَبُّ الْأَعْمَالِ إِلَى اللَّهِ أَدْوَمُهَا وَإِنْ قَلَّ. That the most beloved of actions to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are those actions that are consistent, even if they're small in number. It's not about quantity. It's about consistency. For indeed, if you consistently are involved in khair, in knowledge, in tafsir on a daily basis, maybe 10 minutes a day, maybe 15 minutes a day, then that will keep your iman intact. That will keep your iman intact. But if you were to seek knowledge for 1 month, full time, yes, full time, you seek knowledge for 1 month, and then you go offline for 3 months, then within those 3 months, your iman might become so da'if that you never get back to it again. Right? So it's not about how many hours you spend on this particular course. Yes, that's why we made those 3 different levels anyway of engagement, right? To cater for everyone. So you look at which one is more suitable for you, right? But stay consistent. Yes, if you joining the higher workshop means that you're going to be slack on your homework for the general lectures, then leave that workshop and stick to that which you can, to that thing that you can keep up with. All right, this is really, really important. There's nothing greater. There's nothing that is a greater barrier, yes, to reaping the benefits and the fruits of this course and reaching its end than becoming overwhelmed. And when do people get overwhelmed? When they're not consistent. When you leave off the homework for a week or two, and then the third week you're like, I can't do all of this. That's when you end up leaving the course. So just make sure things don't add up. But at the end of the day, if you even can't do the homework, door is open. The general lectures are always open. There are no conditions there. So never have the feeling that you should stop attending because you fell behind. And likewise, act upon it. Yes, there's another way for you to make the most of this course. For indeed, when you act upon knowledge, it becomes firm. You remember it. And the best example I can give you is adhkar al-sabah wal-masa, or this adhkar that we do during the day. Morning adhkar, evening adhkar, adhkar before going to sleep, adhkar when waking up. Yes? The best way to make sure that you don't forget it is by doing it, reading it every night, every morning. You're guaranteed not to forget them. All right? Same thing applies to the tafsir. Whenever you think of doing something that's not permissible and you remember the ayah, you act upon it, then that ayah is now going to be firmly implanted into your heart, inshallah ta'ala. Finally, another thing as well is that you should consistently revise. Yes, so you don't forget. All right, because knowledge, as we all know, if you don't revise it, you're going to lose it. Yes, we're bound to forget. We're insan. Scholars mention that إنما سمي الإنسان إنسانا لكثرة نسيانه. That insan is only called insan because of his forgetfulness. Because nasiya and insan, they have the same root. Nasiya, which means to forget. And Sheikh Usaymi also has got some benefits on this, great benefits. From them is that he mentioned that he has heard Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen saying that we have memorized, what did he say? We memorized less and read a lot. Yani Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen is saying, I didn't memorize much, but I did read a lot. Okay? But then he said but we benefited from what we memorized more than what we read. He said we benefited more from that which we've memorized than we benefited from that large quantity of books that we have read. So it's not about just consuming knowledge. It's about retaining knowledge. Okay? And the example of one who constantly only consumes the knowledge constantly. He consumes it, but he doesn't revise it. It's like trying to fill a bucket with a gaping hole at the bottom. Yes, that bucket will never become full. Okay? You'd rather have a small bottle, yes, that doesn't have a hole at the bottom and at least fill it up to the brink. That's better. At least you won't lose it. So fix that hole first. Make sure you don't forget what you already know, and then you can add more to it. And he mentioned from Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen, rahimahullah, he mentioned that he has benefited more from that which he has memorized than that which he has read. Shaykh Al-Usaymi here, he gives a very nice metaphor, and he mentions that these three matters for knowledge are like seeds for a tree. It's water and growth, which preserve its strength and protect from harm. What are these three things? He mentions that memorizing the seed of knowledge. Okay, so that's a seed that you've planted. Revision is its water, and asking about it is its growth. Okay, and through asking about knowledge, its treasures open up. So good ability of asking, the scholars they mention حسن السؤال نصف العلم, that have half the knowledge. It's half the knowledge. طيب. Another thing is sharing. With sharing, teach your loved one. If you want to increase in knowledge, then share. You share what is one of the unique aspects about knowledge. If you share your wealth, it will decrease. يعني طبعا Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it will increase physically. Right? But when it comes to knowledge, is something that increases with sharing. طيب. So participate, the way, if you want to make the most of this class, participate. The value of this course, it lies in the interactions. And I know some of you always ask, Ustad, is it recorded or not? Don't ask if it's recorded. It's the most important thing. And if you can't make it, then that's when the recording becomes beneficial, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, so The value, again, we said it lies in what? In the interactions in the live sessions. Self-paced courses, as they call it, in reality, they are no-paced courses. Okay. And how many of you have completed a self-paced course? And if you want to go by just listening to the recording, you're never going to listen to the recording. You're never going to actually get to it. Yes. And, when you say, or when some of us look forward to visiting the recording, and the most important thing on our mind is that it has been recorded and that we can access it later. It's not that we're suffering from lack of information anyway. There's enough knowledge out there. The reality is that you need that drive. You need to study together with a group of students. These deadlines are important. These exams, these quizzes, these assignments, all of it is for one and one reason only: to get you to participate and actually do something with the knowledge, inshallah. طيب. What are the course objectives? And this again is really important. And this is the final point before we start with the tafsir of al-isti'adah. So I'd like to ask all of you, when this course is finished, how will you measure its success? Very important question. So for example, right now we're here. This course, inshallah, is going to take a year. At the end of the year, when we're done, yes, how would you decide, or how would you measure if this was a success? Okay, please answer a woo clap. So when this course is finished, how would you measure its success? Imagine 1 year from now, inshallah, bi'idhnillah, when the course is done. When you look back and you reflect, and you want to ask yourself, or I ask you, or anybody else asks you, was that course a success? How would you measure that? What would you consider? What would you look at? What would you compare? Okay. By its implementation in my life, in my actions, retention of knowledge and sharing it with others. MashaAllah, Jamil. If I understand the meaning and interpretation of the Quran, understanding the Quran better globally, and being better in practicing my knowledge, on how much I was able to grasp and practice from it. MashaAllah, Mumtaz. All these are very good answers. Barakallah feekum. Okay. Sorry, I leave it on for those of you that still want to write something. Okay. You can continue answering that question. Okay. Mumtaz. Another question which is similar, yes, but similar but different, which is, when we are done with this course, what is it about your life that you want to be different? Okay? What is about your life that you want to be different when this course is finished? Kind of related to the previous question, but this question already assumes that you want to undergo a transformation, and that's what this course is about. It's about changing yourself. Yes? We want change. We don't just want information. It needs to have a tangible effect on your life. But what is it that you want to be different in your life when we're done with the course? Tayyib, let's see some of the answers. To be more connected to the Quran and upon it, inshallah. Mumtaz. I want my salah to be transformed as being able to understand the meanings to help me better connect with the Quran. MashaAllah. Have taqwa. Beautiful answer. Be able to focus on my salah, more urgency to implement the teachings of the Quran, have a better understanding of tafsir and making the Quran my character. MashaAllah. Some very good answers there. Allahumma barik. Tayyib. So I can say that, generally speaking, the objectives that we have, they're all aligned, inshallah ta'ala. I thought of 3 objectives, right? Which for the most part, it encompasses what most of you have said. Okay. Number 1, that you develop a good understanding of the main fundamental topics addressed in the Quran. So the Quran talks about many things, a lot of things. The Quran, we mentioned, is the basis of all knowledge. But there are some fundamental topics. There are a few things that are more important than others addressed by the Quran, and you should develop understanding of those. Likewise, develop a strong connection with Allah's words. Yes? How much stronger is your connection be with the Quran when you actually understand it? Okay? And also that you gain a strong drive and motivation motivation to study the Quran and your deen. And if you learn the Quran and you see the benefit of learning the Quran and its tafsir, it will definitely push you towards seeking more knowledge. So that's also one of the objectives, inshallah ta'ala. Okay. طيب. We have an important question here. When we say fundamentals, we always hear this question, fundamentals, right? What are the fundamentals? Okay. When we say fundamentals of the deen or the fundamentals, right? Or this question, what are the fundamentals? What do you think the fundamentals are? You can answer in Wuklab. Okay, so we have Aqidah, principles of Hadith, Tafsir and Fiqh. Who is Allah and how to worship Him? MashaAllah, that's a very good one. The most important topics, guiding themes. What's necessary? The stone bricks to build on. The 5 pillars. MashaAllah, beautiful answer. Whatever is obligatory upon us, such as the 5 pillars. Implement Tawheed and according to it, staying away from shirk. MashaAllah, beautiful answer. Very good. Allahumma barik. Yeah, so these are some tremendous answers, mashallah. The basic understanding of Tawheed, the functions of what are they? Okay, now let's talk about that. Let's talk about for a moment the fundamentals of the deen are. People, it's not that they don't realize the importance of focus on fundamentals. They don't know what the fundamentals of the deen are. And obviously, if you don't know what the fundamentals of the deen are, then you're much more likely to be preoccupied from the fundamentals of your deen. All right, so what are the fundamentals of our deen? If I give it to you in 2 words, Hadith Jibreel. Hadith Jibreel, I know Hadith Jibreel, which is the famous hadith. It's the second hadith of Arba'in an-Nawawiyyah. And the reason it's the second hadith, it just tells you its importance in our religion. Some of the scholars, they mentioned if there's one hadith that would encompass all of the religion or the religion of Islam, it would be this hadith, the hadith of Jibreel. The famous hadith where the Prophet Muhammad was sitting with his companions, and then Jibreel, obviously looking like he looked like a man with white clothes and very dark hair, and he came to the Messenger and he asked him, he said to him, Ya Muhammad, akhbirni an al-Islam, tell me about Islam. And the Prophet Muhammad said, Islam is that you do the shahada and you praise Allah and you give zakah and you fast the month of Ramadan and you do hajj, and the 5 pillars of Islam. You told him the 5 pillars of Islam. And then he said to him, you told the truth. And he said, Muhammad, tell me about Iman. So the Prophet ﷺ, his messengers in the last day and in Qadr. Then he said to him, what is ihsan? And then the Prophet ﷺ said to him, they worship Allah as if you can see him, and if you can't see him, then he can see you. What did the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ say at the end of the hadith? What did he say? He said, هذا Jibreel, this is Jibreel. أتاكم, he came to you. Why did he come? ليعلمكم دينكم. This is Jibreel, and he came here to teach you your religion. يعلمكم دينكم. We learn from this hadith that our religion of Islam are these things. These 3 things that Jibreel asked about. The 5 pillars of Islam, the 6 pillars of Iman, and Al-Ihsan, which is the highest level. All right? So when we say what's the fundamentals of our deen, it is whatever is related to these things. Okay? Remember that. So the 5 pillars of Islam are things that you do. Yes? For the most part. Okay? And the 6 pillars of Iman are things that you believe in. Those 2 things coupled together is what your deen is built upon. These are the pillar of your deen. And then you perfect it by way of ihsan. Okay? And this, in essence, allows us to pass the ultimate test. What's the ultimate test? The ultimate test, we know that the life in this world is a test. But the ultimate test is when you're in your grave and you're asked those 3 questions. That's the ultimate test. For indeed, that's why some of the Salaf, they used to mention that they feared the punishment of the grave more than anything else. Why? Because mentioned the punishment of the grave, or the grave is the first station of the stations of the hereafter. And if they go good in the grave, they will go good in the hereafter. If they go bad in the grave, they're going to go bad. Everything after that's going to be bad. So your hereafter really is defined by these 3 questions. What are they? ما ربك ومن نبيك وما دينك. your religion or your destiny in the hereafter is defined by these three things. Ma'rifatullah, knowing your Lord, Allah. ومعرفة نبيه, and knowing your messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. ومعرفة دين الإسلام بالأدلة, and knowing the religion of Islam with its proofs. Okay, these three questions, and the answer to it are the questions of the grave, and this is what will define your destiny in the hereafter. Now, how is that connected to our tafsir course? Who can tell us? Who, يعني, how is this fundamentals of the deen connected to the tafsir course? I'll tell you how it's connected. Yes. Number one, when it comes to ma'rifatullah, how do we get to know our Lord? Yes. Who can tell us about our Lord better than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself? You want to know your Lord? Read his book, Quran. You want to know your Lord? Read his book, the Quran. If you want to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have to read the Quran. So this is the first one. You want to learn about Allah. You want to know your Lord? You're going to find your answers in the Quran. Okay. Second one. وَمَعْرِفَةُ نَبِيهِ, knowing your messenger. When you're asked in the grave, who is your prophet? Who is your messenger? What's the best way to know the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to get to know of him? Wallahi, the best way to know of the Prophet Muhammad. You want to know the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Read the Quran. That's why our mother Aisha radiallahu anha, when she was asked about the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's character, what did she say? She said, كَانَ خُلُقُهُ الْقُرْآنِ. She said that indeed his character was the Quran. You want to know Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and how he lived his life and what he lived by and what he believed? Read the Quran. Understand the Quran. And we mentioned many times that the Quran cannot be understood without the Sunnah. Impossible. It's impossible to understand the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without the Sunnah. Allah said in the Quran, وَمَا أَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْقُرْآنَ إِلَّا لِتُبَيِّنَ لَهُمْ أو إِلَّا لِتُبَيِّنَ النَّاسِ مَا نُزِّلَ إِلَيْهِمْ. من another ayah. Allah said that, oh Muhammad, we did not reveal the Quran to accept. You clarify to people that which has been revealed to them. Okay? So you can't understand the Quran without the Sunnah. Understand the Quran by way of the Quran, and understanding the Quran by way of the Sunnah of the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam upon understanding of the companions. This is how you will get to know the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then the third, in the grave, know your deen. You're gonna find the answer in the Quran. When we say in Surah Al-Fatiha, some of them said it is the Quran. Some of them said it is Al-Islam. Okay. Some said it is the. Some of them said what? It is the Quran is Al-Islam. Al-Islam is Al-Quran. There is no Islam without the Quran, and the Quran is what teaches us about the religion of Islam. So in essence, when we say a good understanding of the main fundamental topics of the Quran, we are going to focus on whatever allows us or makes us more equipped to answer these three questions. So when we come across anything about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his perfect names and attributes, we will focus on making sure we understand it the correct way. If you come across anything about the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam or what Allah has commanded him, yes, along with his sunnah, we focus on that. And if there's related to knowing our deen, in other words, the 5 pillars of Islam and the 6 pillars of Iman, believe in Allah and the angels and the book and the messengers, we'll focus on those things as well. All right. Anything beyond, okay, we will mention it if context necessitates, but they will not be our main focus, inshallah ta'ala. So a good understanding of the main fundamental topics addressed in the Quran. When you hear this main fundamental topics, at least now you know what it is we're talking about, inshallah ta'ala. Yep. Barakallah fikum. And I'll share it inshallah with you in the channel. I think I've come to know that some of the students of knowledge, some of my close friends, they're doing a seminar, inshallah, or I think a dawrah, I can't remember when it is, very soon, specifically about the hadith of Jibreel. So the whole Dawrah is about the hadith of Jibreel. And I advise all of you to attend that, inshallah ta'ala, and to benefit from that seminar. Inshallah, I'll share the link in the Telegram channel. Bismillah al-Kareem. All right, now, like I promised, let's do some tafsir. Okay, so let's start with the isti'adah, inshallah ta'ala. And then, inshallah, next lesson, we will continue with the Basmala and Surah Al-Fatiha, inshallah. So now, let's get a feel for what this lesson or this tafsir is about, or this course is about. So let's start with the tafsir of Al-Isti'adah and Basmala. Okay, starting off with the tafsir of Al-Isti'adah. Then there are a few questions here. Okay, number one, what are the virtues of the Isti'adah? And that's important to know, even though it's not directly related to tafsir, it is something important to know so that you are, equipped, or that you have the motivation to always do the isti'adah. Actually, I think we'll come back to this one later. We'll mention it. Isti'adah, and this is from the Tafsir ibn Kathir. This is from Tafsir ibn Kathir. He mentions that isti'adah cleanses the mouth from foul speech that he has indulged in, and it also purifies the mouth and prepares it to recite the speech of Allah. And he also mentions that the isti'adah entails the seeking of Allah's help and acknowledging His ability to do everything with your mouth and prepares you for reciting the speech of Allah. Isti'adah entails seeking Allah's help. We need Allah's help, right? Even when we're reading the Quran. And likewise, the isti'adah, it also affirms the servant's meekness and weakness and inability to face the enemy. When it is that you want to read the Quran, and the first thing that you say is, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Yes? Contemplate on that. What does that mean? That basically means you are acknowledging that you are powerless, you are weak, and you need Allah's help. That's why you seek refuge in Allah from the shaitan. Okay? Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can protect us from this enemy. Okay? So that's why we seek, or we do isti'adah before we start. Yeah. Okay. What we're going to do, inshallah, is, and I think it's a good point that some of you have mentioned, which is, let's start the tafsir next lesson. So next lesson, we'll do the isti'adah and the basmala in more detail, inshallah ta'ala. And inshallah, the internet connection will be much better, inshallah, for next session. I just thought I would start the tafsir today because it's been 4 sessions so far, and I'm sure some of you are thirsty for it. But having said that, let's not be hasty. Inshallah, we will call it a day. We'll stop there, especially because we went over the hour anyway. Any questions? The workshops will be recorded. Yes, inshallah. But they will only be shared with those that are part of the workshop, inshallah. So for those that, get the link to the workshop and they can't leak, then I'm going to have a system in place whereby they can receive the link to the recording, inshallah. Any question? So again, there is no opt-in workshops. It's pretty simple. Apart from those that want to do the Arabic workshop, they can contact me. But the general lecture, we'll do it. I'll give the assignments. Those of you that finish it, at the end, the last step, you'll be presented, you'll be gifted, inshallah, with the link to the workshop. And then you can decide to attend or not to attend. That's inshallah up to you. But those that don't do the homework, don't do the assignments, they don't finish the steps, then they focus on that and forget about the workshop. When the Tafsir course starts, will you share one of the Tafsir books? Yeah, the Tafsir book that we are focusing on, which is Al-Mukhtasar, I'll share that one, PDF. Okay, it's translated, PDF in English, ready, I'll share that inshallah. Tafsir bin Sa'di, you'll find it if you look for it, inshallah. I personally don't want to share it because of copyrights and what have you. I don't want to get myself into that because the publishers might not be happy with that. But if you look online, either you can get a physical copy, or maybe you find a digital copy on Amazon or what have you, and you can purchase it. Maybe you'll find it for free. That's homework for everyone, inshallah. Tafsir bin Sa'di. Okay. If I do find a free copy, translated one, I'll share that. If not, then everybody needs to look at how they can acquire that book. But the Mukhtasar, that one is distributed for free by the book. So that's accessible to everyone, inshallah. The Arabic workshop level they are in terms of knowledge. They don't understand Arabic, then they won't understand what we're talking about. Okay? Because we won't be teaching Arabic. We're going to try to understand the Quran in Arabic, which means the language in which we're delivering the benefits is going to be in Arabic. So we're going to do i'rab and sarf and these sort of things. But it wouldn't be beneficial to you if you don't understand Arabic. So those that understand Arabic, send me an email, message me on Telegram, inshallah, by the end of this week, and then we can figure out these two. Yeah, my advice in regards to the course before next session, I'm going to send all whatever you should do before the class. I'm going to send the tafsir extract for next week. What we're going to do, I'm going to be accompanied by some comprehension questions, all the whatever that needs to be done before next course, I'll share it in the group. And beyond that, if you want to read other resources, then I can recommend a few resources, inshallah. The translation by Darussalam doesn't always correspond well with the Arabic. Please bring to mention if you have some examples of that, inshallah. My understanding, I've heard that before as well, but the latest version, that's not the case. And as you know, all books go through different editorial processes. You got edition 1, edition 2, edition 3, or version 1, version 2, version 3. So the latest one, I remember I had emailed the actual author of the Darussalam, I can't remember. The author of that particular of Tafsir Bindi, I emailed, I remember, bring to their attention some of the things that people were mentioning. And they told me that this is not the case in the latter versions. And that person that was bringing those things up on Twitter or on social media, he was mistaken. And I think that person took it back as well, eventually, saying that he checked the later versions and he found that that's not the case. But if there are still something on your mind, if there's something that you've seen that doesn't correspond, or there is, you can send that to me and I'll have a look at it, inshallah. Yeah, the format of the tafsir that I'm going to be doing for the general lecture is thematic, inshallah. For the workshops, would be general. The general lecture is general tafsir. It's general tafsir, and I would say general tafsir for the workshops. And the workshops will be a bit more detailed. Okay, the thematic one, we'll do that one, inshallah. Okay, so again, the format of the tafsir we're going to be doing is general tafsir, as in the general meaning of the ayah, every ayah, but the workshops will be a bit more detailed. Barakallahu fikum. طيب, inshallah, look forward to seeing all of you for next lesson, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.